It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 10 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a new theory about Michonne's exit story arc that's been circulating around the fandom. And this theory involves Althea and brings together a few things to make it possible for Michonne to possibly learn that Rick is alive and pushes her to go after Rick. So this theory is the Althea tape theory. So the theory is that Michonne is going to find a recording of Rick that's going to make her realize that Rick is alive, and it's going to push her to try to find Rick. And it's going to be precisely what's going to connect her to the movies, and it's going to create an environment where she could reunite with Rick in the movies. Now, before I even start talking about this theory, I do want to say it's a big stretch, and that's exactly why I'm here. I'm here to tell you why it's a stretch. The theory itself has a lot of holes in it, and we're going to go through it. However, the theory becomes possible and actually very plausible if you take Althea out of the equation. I just don't understand why people in the fandom try to make something so bizarre that makes no sense when they can just tweak it a little bit to make the theory actually sound and plausible. But we'll go through why the theory is not plausible and why it can't happen in terms of timeline and everything, and what needs to happen for the theory to actually be a possible theory. So let's backtrack a little bit. So the theory is that when Michonne is going to the naval base with Virgil, she's going to come across a tape recording of Rick Grimes. And it's going to be recorded by Althea. It's going to be one of Althea's tapes. And in that tape, either Rick is going to reveal that he's taken and, he's going to the CRM, or somehow Althea is going to capture that information in the tape that Rick Grimes is at the CRM or is going to a big community or whatever. So that's going to make Michonne want to find out more, and maybe that'll get her to do some more digging around and then potentially find the CRM community or the whereabouts of the CRM community and go on a mission to go after Rick. Now, why doesn't that theory work? Well, if you look at the timeline right now where Walking Dead is, they are years, like maybe 7 or 8 years ahead of the timeline of where Fear is right now. If you align them, I think where we are in Fear right now at the end of season 5, when Morgan is shot and everything, if you line it up with the original show, that's probably going to line up to somewhere in between the 6-year time jump that we had right after season 9 episode 5 of The Walking Dead's original show, after Rick disappeared. So yes, most likely Rick has disappeared at this point in Fear, and the timeline of Fear at this point is somewhere in the 6-year time jump. There is no way for Althea to be able to go find Rick, videotape him, and record that information and put it on the tape. It just doesn't work. The timeline just does not make sense. And not just the timeline, but the location doesn't make sense. And not even that, but if Rick knows where he's being taken to, if he can get away, why would he stick around and, interview Althea? If you remember, Isabel was actually very secretive about the CRM, and she even went as far as taking the tape away from Althea. So why would any CRM soldier allow Rick to do such an interview? There's just so many holes with this theory that makes it super impossible. Now, with that said, what are some of the things we can tweak to make this theory actually plausible? All you need to do is just take Althea out of the equation, and you have a pretty sound theory. And what I mean by that is, instead of saying Althea tapes, you can just say tapes in general, like recordings. Maybe the people that took Rick Grimes videotaped him for whatever reason. Maybe they were torturing him. They were trying to get information out of him. Whatever the case may be, they might have some tapes about Rick. And it could have been taken when Rick was taken back to the community. So what I mean by that is they probably didn't want to take a newcomer like Rick directly to the community they're from. So maybe they have some sort of a middle ground, some sort of a outpost where they can take these survivors to learn more about them before they take them to wherever they need to go. And maybe that outpost is near the naval base, or maybe it's at the naval base that Michonne is taken to. So these CRM soldiers recorded Rick, torturing him, or whatever the case may be, and maybe they left the tapes there. Maybe they lost the tapes. Maybe something happened to them and the tapes remained. Maybe when Rick was taken away, these soldiers stayed behind and they died for whatever reason. Maybe something bad happened. Walkers attacked, whatever the case may be. And the tapes were left there. And Michonne, when she's going to check out the naval base, maybe she comes across this outpost and finds these dead soldiers. She does some digging around because, they're pretty sophisticated soldiers to just ignore, you know what I mean? That's why Althea couldn't ignore them in Fear the Walking Dead. Same concept. So Michonne finds the tapes and then finds out that Rick is alive. And then maybe she does more digging around and maybe Virgil can come in at this point. Maybe he knows a little bit. And that would make Michonne realize that Rick is alive and possibly find out about the whereabouts of the CRM community, which is going to push her to go there to find him. Now, like I've said before, I don't think it makes sense for Michonne to just leave. I think it makes more sense for Michonne to come back and then leave after. So maybe Michonne comes back, tells everyone what's going on, about the possibility that Rick is alive, and then she goes out there looking for him. Now, there are also other rumors that we might see a short time jump during this time with Michonne. Well, sort of. The speculation is that during Michonne's final moments, after Michonne's final moments during the current storyline, the screen is going to go to black and we're going to see a Michonne that's from the future. And it's going to give us an indication that she's after something. And pretty much going to leave all of that up in the air in terms of what happened to her, where she went, how did she end up where she was when we saw her. Now, with that said, if they do this, it's a little bit of a lazy writing because they're just skipping over it because they can't do it justice in a few minutes. And they don't want to completely butcher it, so they just skip it. You know what I mean? So there's that. But at the same time, I think that that theory could play alongside this theory that I just went through. And it could kind of support that theory because maybe after Michonne finds those tapes, maybe that's when we get the flash forward where we see Michonne actually after Rick. And maybe we don't see Michonne come back to the community. Something like that. But I want to know everyone's thoughts and opinions about these two theories. The first one, which involves Althea, which I think is extremely unlikely and doesn't work in terms of timeline and everything. And the other theory, which is just that Michonne finds some Rick recordings. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video. If you like what you see, press like, subscribe for more content, and press the bell button to receive notifications for daily uploads.